Hey, everybody, this is James Pelton. I hope you're having a wonderful Tuesday morning here in Lincoln, Nebraska. We've got like 55-degree weather here in Nebraska, so that's unusual for February. So we've been enjoying that. I have Chad Barker here. He's the founder of Wealth Ignition. We're going to be learning from him about some real estate stuff. I know my audience often is asking me about real estate. That is not my wheelhouse. Again, I was telling Chad I have some properties, but it's not my wheelhouse. That's not my expertise. So I like to look around for bring on other people to educate us on these things. So as we're getting going, please hit the like button. If there's anything in particular you want us to talk about, if you have questions as we're going, please ask. We'll bring those up as we can. I do want to welcome Tim as a new member of our community, Lakanzi, and Matthias. So good to see all of you. Thank you for joining the community. Really appreciate having you. Jonathan, hello from Tennessee. Good to see you as well. Go ahead and comment if you're watching here live, where you're watching from. Again, one of the most amazing things I think about the internet and YouTube in general. I'm in my office, Lincoln, Nebraska, but communicating with people, not just from the U.S., but all over the world. So the it's a crazy place, just the way that we can connect to all sorts of people, all sorts of experts, and things like that. So Chad, welcome to the channel. Thank you for joining us here today. Could you start by just giving us a little bit of your background and who you are, and then we'll kind of dive into things.
Thanks, James. I appreciate you having me on. I have been doing real estate for over 20 years now. Been investing. Before that, I was a software engineer and really the analyzer type guy. And when I got into real estate, that was one of the things that I really needed to grasp hold of was the analysis. And so in that process, I started off really slow, but then I built up a portfolio of buying, let's see here, I can't remember, 150 or more properties over that period of time. Over these decades, we have built up a portfolio that was valued at one point at 14 million, and then we saw that the market was shifting and into what we see now is this really hot market, and actually have sold all of my properties into that hot market and waiting for the next great opportunity to get back in.
Okay, love it. No, that's awesome. I know that's some people's dream is, you're working. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about your journey. I assume you worked a 9 to 5 as a software developer. That was actually my 9 to 5 job as well.
Oh, yeah.
So we connect on that.
That's
But can
right.
you tell us about our journey of going from the software development and how you got into real estate and kind of that journey, how long that took? Just tell us a little bit about that experience.
Yeah, sure. Because that was the thing. I was doing the thing, the work an hour, get paid an hour, work an hour, and then I actually started worked for a company for a while, and then I left and started doing contract work. And all I did was I got paid more, but then I was just still doing the work an hour, get paid an hour, and I wasn't really building anything. There's no real wealth building, there's no cash flow. If I stopped working, as you know, stop working, the money stops. And so I needed something different. I knew that something was more for me out there. And on top of that, the software stuff was just driving me crazy. Every time we would start another project, it was like I started from zero again. I would have to learn a new programming language. I'd have to learn a new system, a new platform, all this other stuff. And I just got really tired of that. After years and years of doing that, I always felt, I'd make my progress, and then boom, I felt like I was back down to zero again. So I started looking around and trying to find the opportunities. How could I build something? How could I build build cash flow? How could I build wealth? How could I have something that would last? Something that didn't expire in a matter of months or even days. You buy a computer or some technology and some software, and it's out of date in a matter of it seemed like days. It was awful. So I looking around, and there I had a lot of opportunities I had available to me, but I started to focus in on real estate because I thought I can do this. I can understand this. Of course, this was back 2000, 2001 timeframe when the tech stock bubble had just crashed, and I had lost half of my retirement savings in that. Um, I didn't know what I was doing there, and then um, so I just needed something else. So again, real estate, but I didn't want to be a landlord. And
Mm,
I looked into doing the fix and flip and the rehab. Um, and I realized that was just another job. Okay, so I rehab a house, you sell it, you got to go find another house. So I might have made more money doing it, but I was always in the 9 to 5, running around trying to find the next deal. So it just didn't really make a big difference to me. The landlord thing, I didn't want to be dealing with the tenants and such, and so I eventually found this thing about rent to own, which allowed me to back away from the tenant crap some and actually help people own a home, turn them from renters into homeowners. And so I just focused on buying houses that fit the particular niche that didn't require a lot of fix up and rehab. And I could I could buy a house and then turn around and get it producing money within in weeks, if not days, rather than the months it would take for, like, for example, a rehab. And just started building from that, started gathering partners so I could grow faster and more, and just continue to grow that cash flow and the wealth. And it's been an amazing journey all that time.
okay, awesome. Well, I want to dive into that a little bit and see what we can glean from you that maybe my audience can use. But
Cool.
RX Rob, welcome from San Antonio. We've got Ketra from the Bahamas. That sounds kind of nice, coming from Nebraska. Georgia, Chance, good morning to you, and Kurt and Davis. Appreciate all you guys just hopping on here today to learn about real estate and rent to own. So can you kind of tell us a little bit about how can someone get started in this? Is this kind of what you're because you have a book is kind of one of the things. Is this difficult to get into? I think that's just that barrier to entry is what keeps a lot of people out. What would you say to someone who says, I can't do this? That's too much work to get into.
Well, what I'd say is that, well, everything's going to require some work. I mean, it's you got to learn. There is some learning, but I found it to be one of the easiest ways to make money. Um, it was way easier. I remember um, it was the second house that I bought, and I actually got owner financing on the house, the seller financing. So I had a small down payment, which I actually got the down payment from another partner. So I had no cash in the deal, closed on the deal, um, and 3 days later, I had somebody handing me a certified check for $5,900 to move into the house to be the next owner. And it's those kind of stories. And then in like 4 years later, they ended up buying the house. I got a big check at the end when they bought the house. I got all this cash flow as we went along, and and they actually ended up having a house with equity in it when they bought it. So it was a great deal. But to get started, I think that the biggest problem now that I think probably people see is the how do I come up with a down payment? How do I qualify for the loan? I mean, maybe one or both of those is a problem for you, and I solved that problem with partners, because there's a lot of people who have the cash and have the credit, and they want to own real estate, but they don't want to go do the work. And so I was able to, I learned enough that I went out and I was able to do the work, but even the work really wasn't that hard, because I remember that $5,900 check. I came home with that $59 check, and I told my wife, I said, I have never made so much money so easily and so quickly than with that $5,900 check in my hands, that I probably spent a total of 3 to 4 hours of my time to generate through the whole process of locating the house, buying the house, and everything. So, and again, not a dime of my own money went into this. But finding people, there's so much money out there that is just that's sitting on the sidelines, ready to be made, to be put to work. So much money sitting in money markets and other things. That people are desperate for better returns on their investment, and so that's one barrier that's actually fairly easy to overcome if you know how to talk to people. You know people. I bet you know people, even though it doesn't matter what status you are. You probably know people who have who are willing and able to invest with you. There's a process of locating the properties, but again, you don't have to know how to rehab them. What I teach is, like, let's find the houses that are just in okay shape. People can move into them. They don't have to be perfect. So you're not buying the top of the market, and you're not buying, junk, and you're not having to do a lot of rehab to the house. So you buy something that's just in okay shape. People are ready to move in because they want to own a house. And I would buy a lot of houses right off the MLS, right from the realtors, rather than trying to go out and do a lot of work trying to find, although I did some of this, putting up signs, we buy houses and stuff like that, and doing a lot of marketing. But it's actually, once you know the process, it's a fairly straightforward, easy way to get going, to make money, to start investing in real estate, because houses are something that most people understand. You get housing, you understand the everybody knows, okay, here's a house. It doesn't take a lot of, it's not like a commercial property or something like that. It's really straightforward about what it is that you're buying, how you're going to make money with it. I mean, you can rent it, you can rehab it, you can flip it, you can do whatever you want to do, but it's very straightforward. The whole, homes are straightforward. And I think a lot of people, that's what attracts a lot of people, is that it's a fairly accessible and high demand investment.
Okay, very good. And I think what you mentioned there is, from the people who talk to me, this is what holds them back, is that lack of capital to kind of get going. So what would you say to somebody who says, hey, I don't have any money sitting around. This is something that I'm not able to do. What would you say to someone?
Well, first of all, is this something you really want to do? I mean, do you really want to do real estate? And if you do, then it is really about finding the capital. Like, one of my courses is I have a short course in funding fortunes in real estate, and it gives 5 methods of buying real estate that I used to buy 131 of the properties that I bought without any of my cash or credit. I call it my Swiss Army knife. It's right there on the screen. And 5 methods that I use, again, none of my own cash or credit, to buy these deals. So there's a lot of different ways to do that. One of them is using partners. And some of if any of your audience, if you've been in real estate for long, you've heard of things like subject to. There are caveats with that, but it's going to be a great way to buy houses, especially as the market turns down. It's a awesome opportunity to do that, or what's called takeover payments. I've done owner financing, or seller financing, where the seller will finance the deal for you, and also private money. And all of these ways are excellent ways. If you know how you're going to make money with the deal, then you can find the money to do the deal.
Yep, absolutely. I've found that same thing, that if you are able to show there's an opportunity the money will find its way to you. You don't have to even really go searching for it too much, as long as you can. And maybe we can add. We'll have to maybe talk about this offer. Maybe we can add NFTs as a way to fund future real estate deals as well, because that's something I've been thinking a lot about as well.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
So want to bring up a couple audience questions here. Does rent to own still work as a model nowadays? Haven't many states banned this model due to it being predatory on the renter?
There are states who North Carolina, where I live, is one of the states that has put a lot of restrictions in place. I think Texas has some restrictions. It is unfortunate because there are a lot of predatory people out there, but then again, what industry does not have predatory? There's always bad actors, and it's really a shame.
Not in crypto.
Well, okay.
I'm just kidding.
Right. So there's all these different, name it. It's, and if the bad actors keep taking people's money, then there's going to be regulation and all this other stuff. So the real question is, it does still work, because there's still people who actually, it probably works even better. Because how many people do you know are looking for a house and can't afford it? I mean, they can't afford the down payment. They can't afford, they don't have the credit or whatever. And there's so much competition and so on like that. There's going to be a lot more of that. There's more of that because of the fact that I just read that vehicle repossessions are hitting an all-time high. People are going to be struggling financially, and I think that it's still viable because there's demand. There may be states that have rules and regulations that you have to work around, and there may be some. I'm not an expert. I'm not a lawyer in every state. I don't really know, but it is still definitely a viable in most areas, I would say.
Okay. Nope. That makes a lot of sense. And congratulations to Queen. She says, I bought my first investment property in July. So congratulations. It's a great feeling when you get that first property going. It's a pretty crazy feeling, like, wow, I'm actually a real estate mogul,
Right. That's great. Great, Queen. Congratulations.
Davis asks, which would be easier for a newer investor? Wholesaling, rent to own, loan assumption, seller financing, sub two, or maybe something else?
Okay. A lot of people start in the wholesaling because it's a way to generate cash. Okay, so you can get some quick cash. It's a lot of work. So I mean, if you're looking for passive income, that's probably the opposite of it. So it's leveraged in that sense that you can get leveraged labor. And that's what I like to look at, is how can I leverage my time into. I'm probably not going to ever, well, I won't say ever, but I'm less likely to be involved in true passive investments, but I want to be in leveraged investments, time leveraged investments, where I can put in a small amount of time and get a big reward for it. Wholesaling is not one of those, because there's so much time looking for the deals, but it's still a way. I say it's not a way to get a big return on your time, but you can still get a good size return. You probably make more money than you would on your in your job. Rent to own is a great way. Again, you got to find the people who want to partner with you. Loan assumptions, I'm not sure exactly, unless you're looking at possibly let's see, loan assumptions. Well, not formal loan assumptions. It's very rare that you can do a formal loan assumption, assume somebody else's. In other words, go to the bank, say, hey, I'll take over this person's loan. They say, sure. They won't do that anymore. Seller financing, you got to find the right sellers. I think the opportunity for seller financing is more in the commercial end. That's my personal belief right now. Commercials got enough issues where I think there's more opportunity there. That's just be my thing. Subject to is definitely a way. I think subject to is going to be a bigger deal. It's harder to get now when they're in areas where there's huge demand. But I think the market's shifting. I think most markets all across the United States are going to have some shifts, and that's going to cause a lot more opportunities in subject to. Subject to is basically you're taking over the payments of the mortgage. You buy the house, and you take over their mortgage. You start making payments on their mortgage. I did that a lot of times, and it worked really well. It is, but you need to have people who there's a situation they need to have fewer other alternatives. You're providing an alternative when they don't have very many of them. So, um, um, again, I'm big on the rent to own, as you can see. Um, Rehabbing, there's just a lot of competition in rehabbing. A lot of people are going into the Airbnb or the short term rentals. Is another strategy. I think that's a possibility. It seems like a lot of work and a lot of investment from my point of view, but it's definitely
Yeah.
a possibility.
Yeah, I had a short-term rental for a while, but then, honestly, for us, the hardest part was our cleaners would quit. And then we had to go looking for new cleaners. So not only are you looking to fill up your rental, but you're having to look for, the right cleaners, and then you have to make sure they get on the right schedule. And it was a lot more work than I thought it would be.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's one of the things with most real estate is that if you can find the good people to do the work, whether it's cleaning, um, the the handyman or whatever that's going to do the fixing, if you can find people that are consistent, there's just a lot of turnover, and you rely a whole lot on those people, and there's a lot of turnover in those, and that, like
Right.
you just said, I mean, they quit or they get too busy. They get really good and they don't want to do business with you. They want to go to the bigger, whatever. They want to go clean this office building rather than clean your units. And so, um, it's hard. It's hard to
Yeah.
keep those plates spinning.
Yep. Or you kind of have the numbers worked out a certain way, and then they ask for a raise, and then you're like, well, I had the numbers really only work out with me paying you this amount, and things like that. That's the struggles we had.
Yeah.
Let's do. So I want to talk a little bit about your book. Kurt just bought his book, so that's
Oh, wow.
awesome.
Thanks.
Do you want to talk a little bit about what people can expect in this book? What it contains? And yeah, what they can expect.
It is an overview of the rent to own process. So what you're going to find in there is the 6-step process that I use to do the rent to own. So it starts with finding the money. I go over how, whether you can do it on your own or you need to find partners and form partnerships. I think some people, I will stop right there and pause for just a second, because some people don't want to find partners. I don't know if it's because they don't think that they know the partners, or whether or not, they think that they want to be the bone on their own. They want, but you can have 100% of a very small pie, or you can have 50% of a huge, enormous, infinitely large pie. I chose the 50% of the enormously large pie. Finding the money is first. Then we're going to talk about how to select the right area, because that's key. Where are you going to invest? Invest someplace close. Invest someplace that is not the high priced area, but also not the really lousy area. What you need to do to get deals flowing towards you, because it's all about deal flow. Keeping those deals coming towards you, because every deal you get, any deal you see is not necessarily a great deal. And then how to select the right deals. I go through the math of exactly how I select the right deals, showing, what makes a good deal and what doesn't. I even show some examples of these houses and take you through the steps of the exact formulas I use. They're simple, but they're important formulas for determining whether or not this is a good deal. And then finding the tenant buyer, finding the person that's the tenant. I call them tenant buyers because they're it's renting, but they want to own. So they're tenants to buy. Tenant buyers, finding them, how to talk to them, how to get them signed up, and then how then to move on. And you can see some of these examples that I have here. These are the little deals that I bought that got me just tremendous cash flow. This little, for example, the one right here on the screen, little 3-bedroom, 1.5 bath, 1,000 square feet, and at $500 a month in cash flow every month, ka-ching, 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 ka-ching. And it was no problem getting that thing leased up. Next one down, $591. And the wealth creation is the difference between what I bought it for and what I resold it for. So that's money that I didn't realize that is equity that I can take to the bank, because I would go to the bank and I would show them all of my properties that I had. And even though I technically owned half of them, I still was from the bank's point of view, I was a real estate millionaire. Okay. They saw, oh, well, you have all this property. Okay. Well, sure. We'll loan you this money, or no big deal, so that, but these variety of houses that I bought, getting me anywhere from around $300 a month in cash flow up to over $800 a month in cash flow. And these are deals I've done over the years. You could potentially, in some markets, you can do way better, especially depending on your mortgage rates. So the cash flow is really the difference between my outgoing expenses and my income that I got in from the tenant buyer, and it is way better than what a landlord would typically get. Traditionally landlords are almost breaking even when you count all of their expenses, because you have to maintain all this maintenance that you have to do on the house for the tenant, which I offload to the tenant if they really want to own. And so I am doing all of this stuff. I'm making all of this money above what a landlord would make, because I'm charging higher rents than a landlord would charge, because I'm offering a greater value. You can own this home, and you're going to build equity toward this home, and therefore you have offering greater value. I'm charging higher rents than the landlord is, and I'm making a ton more money than the landlord.
Okay. Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. And maybe can you explain, people might not think about this, but you mentioned one of the benefits of doing rent to own, other than just straight, leasing, is your tenants are going to take better care of it, because this is actually their property. They're not going to trash it. When you do normal long-term rentals, and definitely Airbnb, you have people who stay, they just kind of trash the place, and they're out. What are some of the other advantages of the rent to own model compared to just, long-term rental?
Okay. So the maintenance, they're actually more likely not only to take better care of the place, but actually to do more of the maintenance. They're not calling me and on a weekend, or, in the middle of a kid's birthday party or something, interrupting me and asking me to go run out there and fix their toilet or something like that. I have moved all of this stuff into their ballpark. You want to be an owner, act like an owner. And that the higher rent, the less hassle that comes from this is the biggest the biggest characteristic, the biggest things that really honestly make all the difference in the world from my point of view for being able to do these things. I don't have to make the house beautiful. This is the other thing. If you're a landlord and you want to rent your place, you got to compete with all the other rentals, and then so you spend a lot of time and money, making sure the carpet's nice, maybe replacing after every tenant, or painting after every tenant, and all the stuff that you have to do to make it nice to compete. I bought houses that were just okay shape. I mean, they were livable. There was nothing dangerous, or they weren't rat infested or anything else like that. But I didn't do anything to the houses. I didn't invest. Some of them, I mean, I might have spent $500 cleaning them. There were foreclosures. I spent $500 cleaning them and getting the carpet cleaned, and then that was it. And I didn't fix all the little things. I didn't replace appliances. I didn't do any of that stuff. And so I had the minimum amount of investment. And so my return on investment was huge. And that's just one of the things. I always went for a huge return on investment. And I had, in some cases, I had infinite return on investment on these deals. I would have 50, my partners were getting 25 to 50% return on investment. I was, of course, if they put up all the cash, I was getting infinite. But even on my own deals that I did for myself, my return on investment was 100%, 150% or more on an annual basis.
Okay. Wow. Really cool. So can you maybe talk about these properties in particular, or properties similar to this, but how much capital did you need to, was this a hard one to find? Is this kind of an outlier and you run into a lot of bad deals? Or maybe tell us a little bit about these properties.
Well, okay, if you don't mind, let me give you a little history because what we're in a different market now than I bought a lot of these deals. I'll be honest with you. We have different market challenges now. So when I started in 2001, it was wide open. There's plenty of houses, plenty of deals available. And I would, and this deal might be a 10% down. This was I think this was probably around $100,000 house with a 10% down at the time that I bought this. Okay. And you might say, oh, there's none of those around. Well, no, but when I started, people were saying, oh, there's no more of those $50,000 houses around that we were able to buy 10, 15 years ago. So everything's moving forward. Okay. Whatever challenges that I faced, it's all relative. There's relative to market, relative to the area, and so on like that. So as I went along, home prices started to move up and into 2005 and 2006, and I started finding fewer and fewer deals that made sense. The down payments were higher, the rents were lower, weren't keeping up, the prices, everything was going up, and the deals didn't make sense. So I actually ended up stopping buying and then the crash happened. And in 2007, the real estate market crashed, and it was a disaster. But because I had kept my strategy in place and I knew exactly what I was doing from the numbers, I didn't lose any sleep over the crash. I did fine because I didn't buy any bad deals. But after the crash, all the dust started to settle. That's when I came in and started cleaning up the foreclosures and buying more foreclosures. I think that we're in the similar situation. I think we're heading up to a crash. Markets just can't keep going. They don't defy gravity forever. So I think we're heading toward that. These deals, these deals work. You just shift the numbers as long as the rental income is there. It really doesn't matter what you're paying for the house. If you can make the cash flow based on and a safe cash flow, you can buy the house even if that house is $300,000 now. If the financing and the rental income makes sense, I'd buy the deal. So it doesn't matter. So that one right there, little house on about, I don't know, might have been a half acre. And it's probably one of the smallest houses that I would have bought, but it was just a cash cow, just made money.
Very cool.
That one there, I loved. And let's see here, if you scroll, I don't know if there's any more.
There's a couple from your students here.
Yeah. Okay, that one right there. See, I loved these 4-bedroom houses with the garage. They made so much money every freaking month. I'm just month after month. The 4-bedroom, people always wanted that extra. They wanted that extra space. They wanted that 4th bedroom. They wanted that garage or whatever. And I could, and they would pay so much money. I would have that house right there. Okay. My mortgage payments were $850 and I was making that was about $1,700 a month on. Yeah. That's what my income was. That's approximately, if I remember correctly, on that particular one.
So just so people understand, so the cash flow is the rent minus what you're paying on the mortgage.
Mortgage, it would be all in. It would be mortgage, principal, interest, taxes, insurance, and homeowners dues if I had those. Okay, so all of that stuff, all wrapped in. These are true net numbers. These are not inflated at all. The wealth creation number is the difference between what I bought it for, the sale, my purchase price, and what I sold it to them on their rent to own contract, their option to purchase. Okay. And sometimes I was a little nervous and I didn't go too high when the market's not moving up. Maybe that difference there is that wealth creation. If I were doing that now, or had been, if I do that deal now, the wealth creation probably would be more like $75,000, just because I knew that the appreciation was happening so fast that there'd be I'm gonna charge a lot more for that house.
Can you give us a little bit of insight? And you probably go through this in your book, so don't you don't have to spend an hour on this because it's a complicated question. But how long do these rent to own contract? Does it vary? And then how much do you put towards rent and towards the equity? Kind of how do some of those deals look?
Yeah, that's perfect. Okay, great question. So, we talk about how the deals are structured. It's usually a lease with an option to purchase, or some sort of purchase contract is the way I'd keep two different contracts. Let's see here. Well, ask me your question again, James. I've got Davis. Do you want me to answer Davis's question here? Is that
answer Davis first. He's more important. The guests are more important. So answer his, and then we'll get to mine.
Because I was listening to your question and I got distracted by his, so I apologize for that. So the sale price is predetermined. It is based on it's based on a future value of the property, and sometimes and there's a difference between what I'm also looking for a deal, so I'm usually buying it a bit below market, and I am selling it above market because it's going to be worth that or much more. Like most of the people that bought the houses from me walked away with equity in their hands. So they not only had, in other words, the appraised value of the house, they went to the mortgage company and they got their own loan after some number of years. The appraised value was higher than whatever their payoff to me was. So they always walked away with equity. Your question, James, about the length of the contract, which is interesting. So a lot of people go in there and they want to go a lot of people teach this. They say, just do 1 year. And that's really a scam. Because these people, honestly, okay, you're helping somebody who cannot go get a mortgage on their own. Usually they have credit problems. Okay. I want to help them, but I don't want to take advantage of them and abuse them. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give them enough time to get their credit ready. I would never do anything less than 3 years. Most of my rent to own contracts went 5 to 10 years. Okay. And in other words, honestly, if you've got problems now, if you can't get straightened out enough in 5 years or even 10 years, you've got other problems besides me. Okay. I'm going to give you plenty of time to go get your credit worked out. I'm going to help you in that. If I can offer any assistance, direct you to the right people, I'm going to help you find the way to get your credit straightened out. And that way I get long-term cash flow. Okay. Because I don't really want the house turning over each year after year. I don't want to take advantage of people. I don't want to take their money. They do put up a very large down payment. And this is you asked the question earlier about what's one of the advantages of rent to own. Well, with a standard rental, you get just a security deposit, and you have to keep that security. You can't use the money. It has to go into a savings account, and so that you can give it back to them if they move out with no damage. But with rent to own, I get a large down payment from them that goes toward the purchase price of the home, and I can do anything I want to with that money. As a matter of fact, I use it. That's one of the things that gave me an infinite return on some of my investments, because I got a large down payment from them that basically paid for my down payment on the house. Now large is relative. It could be in some markets, in some situations. Large might be $3,000, or large might be $10,000 or $15,000 or something like that. Large could be different, but it doesn't matter. It's still it's skin in the game for them. I get to make use of this right away. I can do whatever I want to. It's non-refundable. They never see it again. Okay, because I really want them committed to this, and And then again, they have all these years to work it out. I would not go less than 3 years, but 5 years is probably a good amount of time.
What do you find? Again, this is just for my own education.
Mhm.
Why do people? Because in my mind, the reason I would choose to do rent to own rather than me just going and buying a house is because I don't have the money for the down payment. So why, if people are given the big down payment, why do they do that instead of just going and buy the house themselves?
Well, it's still smaller than what they're facing.
Okay,
Okay.
gotcha.
So even, I mean, for example, if you look at a $300,000 house now, for example, and you have, they could be looking at, let's see, even, what is it? FHA, is it 3%? So, or 3.5 or something, that's 9,000. So, but that's if they qualify. Okay.
Sure.
If their credit is they're probably going to have a higher down payment. So they might be looking at 5%, 10% or more down. So a $300,000 house at a 10% down is $30,000. Well, if I come along and say, well, you can move in for $10,000, then they're like, oh, that's a big. They have. I'm not going to help somebody who has no money. Okay,
Right.
That's not. They have to have at least demonstrated that they're able to save the money, and make some progress. But I mean, if they've got no money, go rent a place, save. You come back to me later. But I'm going to help them get into a home for less than what they would normally. And some people have a lot more. Some people want to put more down, and they could actually lower their monthly payments if they wanted to. I think the last question asked was how much of the payment goes toward their rent, goes toward the purchase of the home. I tend to work it like a 30-year mortgage, but I average it out. So like I say, well, how much principal would you pay down in the first 5 years of your mortgage? Okay, well, that might be, let's say it's not usually a lot, $6,000. Let's say it's $6,000 that they would pay down in the first 5 years. I say, well, that's first 5 years is 60 months. I'll give you $100 per month, every month that you pay on time. And then we'll just keep building from there. If the house price is higher, I'd go higher. If the house price is lower, I'd go lower on the equity buildup. If they were in there for another 5 years beyond the first 5 years, I'd bump that up to maybe $150 a month or something like that. So they're earning about what they would earn if they went and got a mortgage.
Okay. Nope. That makes a lot of sense. I wanted to welcome Sarah. Sarah, welcome to the community. Thanks for joining. Hope this video has been helpful for you. Mohammed says, can a non-American resident buy? So this is probably focused specifically on American real estate, but a lot of the principles I'm sure apply in many different countries, but I'm sure like all the deals you've done, I'm sure have probably been US, and that's the book is probably primarily focused on that.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not an expert on this, but I know that people I know it's people who have done it or done something similar to it in Australia and New Zealand. There may be other countries. I think, I'm not sure what the rules are as far as non-Americans buying and making investments. I think there is some allowance for that. They do allow you to make investments, and I think that they want foreigners to make investments. Most countries do want foreigners to make investments. As a matter of fact, it's usually a prerequisite to being able to even have a green card or anything. I'm not sure,
Yeah.
But anyway, that's that's one of the things. Yes. So
yes, we'll bring on a attorney or something.
Yeah, exactly.
That's not our expertise, either me or Chad. So.
But honestly, I mean, you do have to look at your rules and laws and stuff like that. But if you can own the property and you have rights to the property, you can do basically what you want to with the property. I can rent it. I can rent it with an option to buy it. I can whatever. If you have the right to do that, then wherever you live, then yeah, I mean, you can do this.
Go for it. Cool. Davis would like to know, do you personally, do you offer any turnkey opportunities for people that want to be more passive? So people who don't want to read the book and go do it themselves. Do you have any kind of coaching program or turnkey opportunities or anything like that?
Yeah, what the I have coaching. Thank you for asking. Um, there, it's no. What I'm going to talk about here is not for being passive. Okay. I have coaching opportunities. Um, that I have 1 year coaching. My rent on riches program. It's an 8-week course plus 1 year's coaching, along with my software. This is the software that I developed to analyze properties that kept me out of trouble before the crash, and in '07. I think it's just gonna it's an excellent piece of software to help people analyze properties. You get all of that. Um, it takes you through the whole program, end to end, step by step, everything that I do, along with the coaching to get you um, through the individual deals, everything that you're running into, the problems. Every business has its issues. For passive investments, I am looking. I'm open to working with people. I worked with a lot of partners over the years. I've had numerous partners that I split deals on, and um, the most work that they ever did was to qualify for a mortgage and put the down payment down and do all the paperwork to close on it, and then they just collected checks from me. And I was so happy. It was great because the risk was spread out. And for people, again, and other people that may be a little bit reluctant to work with investors or partners, bring in partners. It's you make a lot of money with very little risk on your own part. I mean, you shift the risk to them, and they get a good reward for the risk that they're taking on, but you shift the risk outside of you, and it just frees you up to go do what you need to do best, which is to find these deals and get them leased up and start making money.
Okay, very good, awesome. In Pancake, I shouldn't try to pronounce people's names. I'm sorry, I'm an American. We don't know how to say foreign things. But he said, and we got a lot of this in the audience. When are we going to see real estate NFTs? Can we raise the funds via an NFT? So maybe me and you, Chad, we'll have to have a conversation outside of this to see if there's any opportunity for that, because it's a great way to fund things. And Jonathan says non-Americans can purchase property in the U.S. They have to declare during the purchase process, complete an IRA form declaring the intent, and register. Does differ in states. So thank you, Jonathan, for talking us through that.
Yeah.
So let me go back to the book here. I think I had a couple more questions. I like what you said, that this is not it should not be considered passive income is not passive to set up. That's how I would word it. A lot of times people hear passive income and then they think, oh, okay, so I don't need to do anything. I just buy the book, and then it's going to be a lot of work, right, I assume, to get this set up. But then the goal is, once you get it set up, that's when the passive, quote unquote, income comes after that. Anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, not get rich quick, but I would say it's get rich easy. I mean, what I was able to do was relatively quickly. I was able to quit my job. I had enough income coming in to quit my job. That was probably within, and I was being very, very careful. Let's keep this in mind. I didn't have a coach. I didn't have anybody to lead me through and to help me avoid the pitfalls. I was having to figure out a lot of this stuff on my own. I had some training, but it really didn't prepare me for all that I found in there. So what I was able to do was to quit my job within about 18 months. And within 3 years, I had my own business, and I had an employee that was doing a lot of the work. And I was back down to about 15 hours a week doing what I wanted to do in the business. Okay. So I like, for example, I didn't want to talk to tenants. I didn't want to deal with them. I mean, they're great people. I needed them, but that was the last thing that I needed to do. It was too interruptive for me. So, but I love talking with my investment partners and working with them. And I loved looking for more deals. Those are the two things. So I was able to spend, again, about an average of 15 hours a week doing those things. And the rest of it was taken care of with my employee that was handling all the office stuff. And so it was easy. It got to be really, really easy for me to do. And so you can offload as much as you want. I mean, if you don't want to, the things that you're not skilled at, You can offload it to somebody who is more skilled. It's very easy to parse this up and get the lower paying jobs taken care of by somebody else, and you just sit back and just enjoy life a bit more.
Okay. The people who have kind of gone through, the people who have tried and gone through some of the stuff that you talk about, what have you seen has been, why do some people fail at it?
Oh, that's a great question. Well, let me speak a little bit more broadly to that, because most people who fail at real estate do so because they don't have a particular niche. They don't know. I mean, and when I say fail, it may be not that they fail to even get started because they don't know exactly how they're going to make money. They don't know how am I going, and I call it, I ask people, what is your profit strategy? You want to buy a house? Fine. What is your profit strategy? What is your strategy for making money on that deal? And most people, if they don't have a strategy, they don't know what's a good deal, they don't know how to get started because they can't see the deal when it's in front of them, because they don't know that they absolutely don't have a solid strategy. So get a strategy, get a niche, and get educated on it first, so that you can spot the deals and you know what's going on. The failure is really persistence, and it's sort of like, you could almost think of like there are three. You remember the guy that goes, the spinning plates guy, runs around, keeps the plates. I don't know if you remember.
Circus.
It used to be a thing. You see it on TV about once a week back in the 70s and 80s. But the thing about it is that you're trying to keep these plates spinning. There's three primary plates that you're spinning with this model. One of them is houses, a supply of houses, deals. The other one is a supply of tenant buyers. And the third one is a supply of investors. And what happens is it's hard to keep all of those going great all the time. Right now, the plate that's been wobbling for some time, is a supply of houses with all of the funds and everything, like people, the demand in a lot of areas are seeing that houses there's very little supply. You go out there, there's not very many on the market. They're really high priced. That's a problem. But there's huge demand for people to want to own a home. That's evidenced because there's so few houses on the market. So you got the second plate spinning great, and then there's also demand for in the investors, the people who want the more passive side of the thing, that want to partner with you. And so I've experienced all of these plates wobbling at one point in time. I'd have plenty of deals and plenty of people, but then the investors, it was a dry period for getting new investors in the door. I get the investors, and then I would have the deals, but I wouldn't have the tenants. So what you have right now, though, is if your area is experiencing any weakness at all in the housing market, then you have the opportunity to take advantage of that. The other two are spinning like crazy, and so it's like no problem to find the financing and find the tenant buyer, which makes it extremely profitable.
Okay. Very cool. Well, hey, this has been super educational for me. I love interviews when I get kind of fired up about it by the time it's over. That's how you can kind of tell it was a good interview, I think. Can you walk us through, again, I'm a marketing guy, so I love call to actions. Can you just walk us through your different products? Again, people might be trying to figure out which one's right for me, which one, what's low cost investment, what's a higher cost investment. I'm going to kind of just walk through these briefly so people can figure out which one would be right for them.
Now, so this one right here, the Funding Fortunes in Real Estate, and there are some products that are not on this page here that we have, but the Funding Fortunes in Real Estate, I think you have, James, you have a link to that particular offer. This is the 5 methods that I use to buy houses without any of my own cash or credit. You can get a better deal when you go down below and you would buy from James's link. That's our regular price, but I'm going to give you a better deal. The next one is my course on I call my OpMac course, or I've also call it my Power Partnerships course. I'm in the process of changing the name from Other People's Money and Credit. This is how you use partners. This is my course on that. If you buy one of the offerings, either the funding fortunes in real estate or the what is the one? The design your dream life with rent on real estate. Sorry. If you buy one of those, then you'll get a great deal on that on that what I call power partnerships now, the other people's money and credit course, along with the you get a great deal on the product down below that, which is the partnership document library. These are all the agreements that I use to create the partnerships. This is hugely valuable because I spent tons of money with lawyers putting these things together so that you don't have to. Now they may need to be customized to your area and your state to be legal, but it's a it solves all the problems. Then below that is my Rent on Riches Masterclass. This is the course. Again, I have a great deal available for those who get the Design Your Dream Life with Rent on Real Estate. You'll have an opportunity not only to get the 8-week masterclass, but also the 1 year's coaching that goes along with it to ensure your success for an even better deal than you see right there. And then all of my courses come with this Mistake Eliminator professional deal analysis tool. This again is what kept this is what I call my crystal ball. This is what allowed me to see the future back in 2005, 2006, when the market was heating up, and to see that something was wrong and that I shouldn't buy. It kept saying, don't buy, don't buy, don't buy. And I stayed out of the market and didn't get into the bad deals that crushed so many other investors when the market crashed in 2007. It is an excellent tool for giving you the numbers and also for showing your investment partners what a great, demonstrating for them that this is a great deal and why they should get involved. And then there's one other course that I have. It's my what I call my Fat Wallet Deal Maker Elite. Is also a 12-month coaching program, 1 year coaching program in which we go through all of the different ways in depth. If you were to grab the Funding Fortunes, then you can get a great deal on the Fat Wallet Deal Maker Elite as well. That again, all the ways that I used other people's money and credit and helping you find the deals and fund them.
Okay.
And so all of that's included. So thank you very much, James, for letting me go over those. I really appreciate that.
Yeah. And what I would recommend to people sometimes, so the cost of things like this, is partially, just the cost of learning, but it also, sometimes I like to pay for things like this because it makes you buy in a little bit. You have some skin in the game. And then, whereas if it was free information, like if you just watch this YouTube video, I bet most people who just watch this video are not going to actually take many actionable steps towards doing this. But if you pay $4.97 for something, then there's pressure on you to say, I better go do this. So it's some self-accountability.
Right.
So that's what I would recommend to people is, this book, The Design Your Dream Life, is maybe a good starting place. That's only $7. So it's just a little bit money in, but, gets you, okay, I'm going to put some work into this. And then if you start getting more serious about it, you're welcome to, try it on your own for sure. But, maybe coming in and saying, okay, well, $4.97, that's something that I, could put in and kind of get my feet wet. And then maybe, you get 2 or 3 properties going. You're like, oh, well, I want to expand this more. Then you put in $2K. And that's kind of how education's worked, at least in my experience. So that's how I would approach this if you're interested in something like this.
There's one thing that I can't count enough the value of is the education that I got over the years. And so much of it is school of hard knocks, which is really painful and very costly. What my courses, of course, do is to keep you from going through the school of hard knocks because it's a shorter path to success. But education is important. And one of the things is that education does that is to remove the fear. Okay. Because that is one of the things that stops so many people from actually getting started or continuing is the fear of messing up. And when you are educated and you really know, and you get real education and not free education, like you're saying, you get the real education from somebody who really is holding your hand and walking you through things, then it is, the fear just sort of evaporates, and you have confidence, and you can move into a market, and you can move into investments, and you can do the things that are the right things. You can make the right moves, and you can make the most money when you have the education, and fear is no longer.
Yep, totally agree. Yep, and yeah, learning from other people's mistakes is definitely save you a lot of time and hassle and a lot of things. So totally recommend that. So, well, hey,
Thanks.
audience, appreciate you guys. Thank you for coming to watch. Again, I could not do what I do unless there was people that were willing to watch. So appreciate you guys. We will talk more about potentially an NFT collection. That's kind of been our big thing here recently. So we'll talk more about that. And Chad, thank you for coming on. Thank you for sharing your expertise. I think whether or not people buy anything, I think this was educational, if nothing else.
I hope so.
Hopefully people, if their interest is piqued, then they start, kind of diving in more. And there's a proverb from the Bible. It says, hard work brings a profit. Mere talk leads only to poverty. So I want to encourage people, if you find yourself just continually talking about, oh, I'm going to do this, I want to be financially free, I don't like my 9 to 5, and just a lot of talk, stop the talk and do something. Like, start taking some actions towards what you want to do. So appreciate it, Chad. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you, James, so much for the opportunity. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate being here.
Yep, no problem. Maybe we'll have you back in a little bit and talk about what's new and go over some more things.
Would love it. Love it. Thank you, James.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody. Have a great rest of your Tuesday.